People ask all the time. It's a continual question. I had one this morning. Where should I put a mock scrape? How close to a food plot should I put a mock scrape? And we're gonna go over some of my mock scrape setups, and I'm gonna point this out. And after we go over 2 or 3, it's gonna be quite evident why mock scrapes are in certain areas. But I'm gonna go over several other blind and stand locations and mock scrape setups and why they're here and what we're doing, and we'll reveal, there won't be much of a reveal at the end, but we're going to talk about a general theme of where you should put a mock scrape at all times and why. And first I'm going to talk about this site right here. This is a bow stand setup. We have our redneck up here. I actually shot blade out of this redneck 250 yards that way out on a food plot. I want to get more use out of these blinds. They take up a lot of resources of time and money to get in place, and I want to make sure that we're getting the most out of these. And so we added switchgrass to this power line over here, over an acre of switchgrass. That hides a bedding area on the back side. We can get in and out of this redneck right here, behind all this brush, behind the wall of switchgrass that's at least 50 feet wide, the whole length of this power line for well over 100 yards long. And we can get in and out without spooking the deer. So that's one thing. We've created a trail here that will come out of the switchgrass as a deer trail, and it'll wind through here and go right to the end of the food plot, and there's switchgrass on the end of the food plot. So you can kind of see the overall theme. We're getting in and out of these stands without spooking deer. That makes it a bow hunting stand. What we're doing in this location is we're gonna add a water hole. That water hole will probably go right about here, in perfect shot from the redneck. We're at about 32, 33 yards. I don't want this 15 yards away from the redneck, because then deer are eventually going to know that we're there, and I want to keep that hidden as much as possible. It's in between some brush clusters. Yeah, it sticks out a little bit, but these deer are in this very thick tunnel of brush and switchgrass, and they're just not going to pay attention to that redneck over there off to the side, especially when it blends in with the top of the brush and the top of the bushes that are there. So we'll stick a water hole here. And then, just as important, we'll take this poplar right here and this one right over here. We'll pull them together, and I'll stand probably on the back of a pickup truck, right up on the rail, so I can get some good height. We'll tie those together. It'll be tied about 12 feet high, so it'll picture an arch. And then we'll put a mock scrape right here. That's going to be the focal point right in front of that blind location. So great shot with a bow stand. We'll be able to stick a camera right back on this tree over here. It faces north. I'll be able to get the water hole, mock scrape, and redneck all in the same picture at the same time. So that's location number 1. We're putting a mock scrape here, bow hunting setup, camera back there, water hole off the side. This is a tunnel of movement that just goes from bedding through switchgrass into food, and we can just stick to the outside of this movement, not spook deer, get in and out of the blind, and that's critical for any bow stand. So follow along. We're going to go to a few of these spots, a few of my favorite spots, favorite mock scrape setups, and we'll take a look at what's going on to each one of them, and I think you'll see the overall theme by the end of the video. Okay, we're going to go through these pretty fast, but where should you put a mock scrape? Mock scrape right here. We have a spot for a camera, but most importantly, bow stand right back there. And so convergence of trails right over the top of the trail. We're watching this movement. That's why we have a bow stand here in the first place. So then it's a great spot for a mock scrape. I actually shot Kermit the day before. He was right at this mock scrape in the evening, but I shot him right over here about 20 yards away, 15 yards away, not very far from that same stand. And this mock scrape helps to define the movement in this location. Again, not attracting more deer to this spot or more bucks. It's just narrowing down exactly where they travel right in front of that bow stand. We're gonna go visit the next. I hope it makes sense. Well, this is stop number 3 for where you should put a mock scrape or where you should place one. We have the trail coming through right here. They walk up and down this logging trail. We have the mock scrape right here at this intersection of everything that's going on. We actually have a trail coming this way that goes back. We have trails back here. So it's right in the middle of all the trails, but most importantly, right there is a stand location we love. It's only 22 yards from this scrape because we hunted here a couple times last year. We've gotten most of the big bucks in the property in this location. I actually call this buck corner. So from the cell camera that we labeled over there. So really cool spot, and it's, you know, we'll have the big reveal after 2 or 3 more locations, but this is, you know, a constant theme, consistent theme for where to put a mock scrape. And I'll tell you right here what's kind of nice about this spot. We have a spot that's Right up here we can use on the outside with our scent blowing out into the ag fields, which is great because they're hitting our food plots in the afternoon, evening. We don't spook a lot of deer by hitting our scent out there in the open ag fields. But we can come into the location like this. There's not as many deer down below, plus this drops off severely. 250, 300 feet in elevation below the hollow below. So if we sneak back here from the side in the morning, we can blow our scent off this face. And with the rising thermals, we're not spooked in any, we don't spook anything here in any way. It's all going that way. And plus in the evening, with that being a steep face down there and there's not as many deer, then we can actually sit there, throw our scent down below. So we're using that stand. We have a stand over there we're installing. It's a tripod behind a red cedar, and it's 80 yards from here, 100 yards. And we're watching another mock scrape over there because again, bow hunting stand, mock scrape, convergence of trails. That's why we're hunting here in the first place. So let's go check out another. Well, this is stand location number 4 for where to put a mock scrape. And we have trails coming right here, trail coming this way. They're using this logging trail back and forth. And then we have switchgrass out here. This is really a great cruising location where deer can go back and forth around the inside corner of this field, maybe meaning that if this is a field that comes in, we're hunting within the inside in this woods here on the inside of that corner of the field, and those deer typically are going to cross across that opening. We have switchgrass out there that makes them feel more comfortable next to the big open sky, but bottom line is they're moving through here religiously, and so mock scrape's an important, appropriate location here, and you can see our stand right back down there, right back there. So for location number 4, convergence of trails, great cruising spot. We can come in here and use this for evening, blowing our scent down into a very steep face, or we can sit up here during the morning hours with different winds that we have around the field, blowing our scent over the hollow that way or down the point that way where that scent is lifting in the morning. So we can use this for morning or evening because we don't have food out here. The previous landowners had a big food plot there. We turned it into switchgrass because we couldn't walk around the property or move around this wood line without spooking deer in that food plot. So really bad location for a food plot. That means typically the opposite is true, especially in the case of switchgrass, where we can use it to block our access, screen our access in and out, reduce the noise for accessing this location. But certainly the site, deer hearing us move through, it's very easy. We have a nice mowed trail through there. So great spot for a stand location for a bow, mock scrape, and let's go take a look at the next one. Well, this is another bow stand set up, and so as no surprise, we're gonna go in there and show you a mock scrape, but this is all switchgrass now, this mowed portion out here. So we already can get into this redneck really easy without spooking deer on the small hunting plot in the inside. But adding the switchgrass, we have holes we shoot through on the either side of that red cedar up there. So the deer have no clue. Diane was able to shoot 2 bucks last year out of this blind location, one with a bow at 27 yards and one with a shotgun at 27 yards. They were standing within a foot of each other in the exact same spot. But bottom line is, what's good for a bow stand is good for a mock scrape, so let's go check that out. Now we had a lot of bucks hit this mock scrape here last year. This is really hidden. This is a beautiful food plot. I love hunting plots like this where they're linear and they're moving deer side by side in front of the blind location. I just looked up at the blind location. I couldn't tell where it was for a second because it's behind all this brush. Then we have a great shooting lane over here. And then we have a great shooting lane right back here, completely across this entire food plot. It's literally 27 yards under that apple tree, and that's where Diane shot the 2 bucks. So perfect spot for a bow stand setup. We can gun hunt out of here too. You cover the food plot. We don't have a lot of other space. We're not going to clear a bunch of lanes into the woods because they spook deer. So when you have that long cleared lanes, I've been on so many client lands where mature bucks go to the outside of that shooting lane. They extend the shooting lane, the bucks go further. So if we extend shooting lanes out into this brush, we're actually forcing the bucks to move even further into the brush, and I want them right up here. So I'd rather give up some distance with a gun back here, and then, I mean, we'd probably hunt this with a bow more. I don't believe that Minnesota allows you to hunt with a vertical bow during gun season, or this is the type of blind where we just use a bow out of. We enjoy shooting and hunting with our bows over shotgun or muzzleloader, but I believe we are not allowed to with the vertical bow setup like we are in Wisconsin and most normal states. So we have a switchgrass line right here that's coming in for even further protection, switchgrass around the redneck blind. But most importantly, again, this is a bow stand setup. So we have our mock scrape right here. We had Venti on this. We had Kermit on this last year. We had 7.4 here. I believe it was a July 3rd video or something like that, but he was coming into this from behind. We had Costanza on this, but we had a lot of our bucks, most of the big bucks in the area, hit this mock scrape at some point during the season or before the season. And so really cool spot. And again, you can see on this entire food plot here, we don't have any other mock scrapes. I want the mock scrape right in front of the bow stand. And then you don't have to, we do it because we have the cameras that we can use. And but we always have a location for a camera watching that mock scrape. So it's the entire setup. When I'm looking at, okay, this is a good movement for a bow stand. Next step is we're adding a mock scrape. And then step number 3 is we add a trail camera, or we have a location that we've cleared out for a camera in advance that we could use and set in there at any time. It's very easy to move, change, and get in here. And we have it running right now, actually. So again, common theme. You're seeing bow stand, mock scrape, trail cam location. This is spot number 5. Let's go look at least one more. Now you see here's spot number 6. And again, we're going to show you mock scrape. And obviously, if you're getting the theme of this, there's going to be a bow stand nearby. This is a perfect hunting plot because it's a pass through to another hunting plot and then to a giant food source over there. We're going to have a water hole we're adding right over here, another stand location. And again, this is the perfect spot for a mock scrape because of the bow stand. We have a Family Traditions tripod stand up here, and you can't see it because it's hidden. It's hidden behind the brush in the food plot, not in the food plot. Terrible mistake anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's in Iowa, Kansas, some of the fantasy land states. You still going after those oldest bucks in the area. It's all relative. If you're going after a 6-7-year-old buck in Iowa, you still have to be careful. There's still bucks that'll be wary of a big stand right in the middle of a food plot like this. This is a hunting plot because it's a pass through. We have the stand location. We'll cut out some holes for shooting windows, but we'll be perfectly hidden hunting this. And what's really cool is it's only about a 28-yard shot across the food plot. And so we had a lot of movement through here last year, moving side to side. I want those deer to come in here and focus on this mock scrape. Stands right there. See the mock scrape right here. That buck, if he's coming in and hitting this mock scrape, it's about a 27, 28-yard shot, and that's what I prefer. I could use my 20-yard pin if I'm really thinking hastily and I just throw it on center long and I'm nervous, which I do get nervous. Then I'm accounting for about 4 to 5 inches drop, 6 inches drop at most. So center long would put me perfect. If I want to use my 30-yard pin and aim right down at the heart and let it rise into the shot, I'm accounting for 2 or 3 yards or in case it drops. But I like that because it's not right on top of the blind. I'm not sitting right on top of the mock scrape, potentially moving or spooking the deer if they can see me. But those deer will not be able to see that stand up there or us in it. We're just going to fill a space in a hole for a shooting lane. So again, great spot for a bow hunting area, bow hunting stand. So perfect spot for a mock scrape. Now the theme, you know, I've shown you 6 different setups. Each one of them I would not hesitate to hunt out of. And these cameras on the mock scrapes are going to tell me the timing of when the bucks are using them. This happens to be an Exodus render, so we get, we actually set it on every 3 hours we get a photo, but I don't really care if it's every 24 hours, 3 hours, or real time. I just want to keep taking pictures so we can keep tabs of what's going on in here. And we a lot of times are gauging what our impact is in these locations too by putting a cell camera there. Not to mention the weather. We've had several nice buck pictures today. Yesterday it was close to 90 degrees, very humid. We had giant storms come through, lots of thunder and lightning, pouring rain, and then everything's freshening up today. It's supposed to be the high 60s for daytime high. It's perfect sweatshirt weather. And so what's cool is we're seeing a bunch of buck pictures pop up, and it's because the front's gone through, and this is what I teach. This is something that's really cool about cell cams in a setup like this, is we can see what's moving. We can see those bucks all of a sudden starting to pick up because they're picking up movement in Minnesota and Wisconsin, which is nice too. And what's really cool is that same weather movement, I've infused it into the HuntWise HuntCast app, and that's my weather algorithm. That's why I talk about HuntWise so much and HuntCast, because that's my 30 years of and decades of studying this and hunting by the weather, purely by the weather, and that's how I shoot almost all my bucks. And so that's infused in this, and you can see it real time if you want to see how the weather's actually. Yesterday, that you can imagine the deer movement was incredibly slow with that hot weather, and then today, this fresh day, we're getting deer moving on Wisconsin, Minnesota, all over the place. So bottom line though is a consistent theme. Where should you put a mock scrape? At your bow stand locations. There's occasionally you put it on the inside of a big food plot system, maybe an inside corner off to an edge where bucks come out, in and out, and you can get a good inventory of those bucks. That's an inventory location. But 90% of my mock scrapes, maybe 95, are with a bow stand. Every one of my bow stands, I try to fit a mock scrape into a spot for a camera to locate. We could have used this tree right over here and used one of the stumps over there, but I thought this is best for the clearest picture of what's going through this food plot right here. No more than that. There's no need for you to go setting mock scrapes anywhere else. We have a stand over here that's only about 150 yards away. It's out of a big oak. We call it Vente's stand or Vente's corner, Vente's crossing. But that's where we'll stick a mock scrape in a water hole. It's not on this food plot. We're just trying to reinforce this movement through here. And if we had a stand between this plot and the next, which is 150 yards away, if I put one there at the top of a draw that's coming up on a pinch point, we'll add a mock scrape there. But every bow stand has a mock scrape. You don't want to put, like we have a mock scrape right here, I don't want to put a mock scrape down there at the other end of this plot. We might even be able to see it from the stand, but I don't want deer to be pulled away to another mock scrape or a good perennial licking branch that isn't within bow shot or easy bow shot from the stand location nearby. We're defeating the purpose then. We could actually have a buck that comes out of the corner back there, hits that mock scrape, doesn't even come back the rest of the way here, just filters out. So I'm trying to continually define that line of movement that I'm actually watching, and that's the reason the bow stand's there in the first place. I'm not using any more mock scrapes than that because they have the potential to pull deer away from my bow stand locations. Your bow stand locations are within lines of movement that you're trying to reinforce and create. You're trying to recognize on public land, whatever it might be, but you're just adding the mock scrape so that they actually define movement through the area. Maybe instead of that buck passing by 30 yards away, he comes here to hit the mock scrape on the way through, and he's doing that not because he wasn't in the area and the mock scrape is bringing him here. He's moving and hitting the mock scrape because it was convenient for him and within that line of movement that you're trying to create or you're trying to recognize on public land, create on private land. So the answer to the question, I'm sure you figured it out after the first video. And even the reason why we stuck the red cedar into a new hunting plot on the new land that's next to this. We stuck that red cedar out there because we wanted to add that mock scrape in front of a bow stand. It's the common, consistent theme. Bow stands, where you have bow stands, the reason those bow stands are there in the first place is the exact same reason why you should put a mock scrape in trail cam location. And if you do that, you're going to find success not only with getting good inventory of bucks, helping to recognize and define those patterns, but actually converging a lot of trails into one right in front of your stand. I want that buck focusing on this mock scrape when he comes here, not focusing on the camera, not focusing at us up in a tree stand over here. And we use either redneck blinds, we have the tripod stands, we have our family tradition ladder stands and hang-on combinations, but we're using a variety of stands and blinds for our bow spots. But the bottom line with all these bow spots is they have a mock scrape and a potential camera location, whether we use it on every one of these or not. But very important that no more or no less and no other locations than where your bow stands are in the first place. They are hot spots for mock scrapes, and I hope that makes sense for you this summer and into the fall. I'm excited to tell you guys about my latest web class. It's how to plant food plots, how to design your food plot program, and it covers everything. And really, there's 30 videos, over 10 hours, 11 hours of footage, workbook, hats, all that stuff on top of it. I urge you to check out the link. But I cover 5 main areas: critical food plot concepts, where to plant, how to create, what to plant, and finally how to plant. It takes you through that step by step so you can make your own decisions that apply to you and build a great high quality food plot program this year, whether you have decades of experience or no experience at all.